All right, kids, welcome. Welcome, Mug Clubbers. Little housekeeping. If you live in the Calgary area, October 17, 18, 19, I'm going to be there, okay? I'm at Yuck Yucks, one of my favorite places to perform. I've been performing at Yuck Yucks for over 10 years in Calgary, probably 15 years. Who knows? Who's counting? The days start to mold into one big clump. And I was at a football game yesterday live at the SoFi Stadium, which is a phenomenal stadium. Phenomenal stadium. It's the best stadium, okay?
No,
it's the best stadium. And it cost $5 billion to make. And I bet I was there and Taylor Swift was probably there. The sound in that inner sanctum when they're going crazy for the LA Chargers, who lost to the Kansas City. But you know, when you watch football and you see how your legend is made, and when you're watching it without TV and highlights, it's very, very anticlimactic. And everything you do in life that you get ready for that one moment can happen so quickly. And it takes a lifetime to prepare for that one moment and to do that one moment correctly. When you're a sprinter in the Olympics and you have 9 seconds, under 10 seconds to show the world that you on that particular day, in that particular moment, for those particular seconds, were the best you could be. If you can figure out how to peak at that exact moment, that's why you train so much. That's why every little detail has to be on point. And it's not for everyone. It's a bitch. It's a bitch to hold that line of excellence. That's Chariots of Fire. And that's the whole point of that. That's the whole point.
Just keep talking about the Chargers.
And I don't want to, yeah. And there it is. It's great. And that really is what life's about. Life is about preparing for when that moment comes. And you don't always know when that moment will come. But you must be battle-tested. You must be fight-ready. Your belly must be tight. Your arms must be heavy. Your eyes clear. Your heart full. You must always have in your heart the fact that there is who you are and there is who you could be. And in these 10 seconds, who you could be is waiting. You will probably fail. You will probably die reaching. You will always be more wrong than you are right. You will always take more than you give. But for that 10 seconds, for that 5 seconds, if you have prepared, if you have done all the little things, if you've done, in short, what you were supposed to do and what you have to do, not what you wanted to do, what you felt to do. If you had resisted the apple as the snake reached out and said, take a small bite just to take some of the pressure off, you said, no, I have grown comfortable in being uncomfortable. And then, my friend, victory could be yours. So, with that in mind.
Yeah, fun game, low-scoring game. Rashee Rice destroyed his knee, which is very sad.
He did destroy his knee, which is, what do we know? It's an ACL tear? What is it?
It's probably an ACL tear.
It's a horrible thing. Yeah, you never know.
So thanks for that rousing bout of inspiration. Wanted to ask you something. I don't know if we've gotten into like your favorite films or anything like that, but went to go see Megalopolis this weekend. I don't know if you've heard of this film.
It's the Francis Ford Coppola movie, and for those of you who are young who don't know who Francis Ford Coppola is, he did a couple movies like, I don't know, The Godfather 1 and 2 and 3.
Yeah.
He did something called Apocalypse Now. He did something called The Conversation with Gene Hackman. You're talking about a Dracula. You're talking about a giant. You're talking about a film gigante, okay?
Right. So,
énorme, gigantesque.
Yeah.
He's one of the great auteurs. Became a great winemaker, by the way.
Right. So let's talk about the wine because okay, so Francis Ford Coppola made the 3 of the most perfect movies ever made.
That's right.
Godfather 1, 2, and Apocalypse Now. Conversation's amazing, but it's not as good as
Thank you for knowing The Conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Film School.
What else did he make?
Those are the 4 big ones.
Phenomenal.
But yeah, phenomenal director, probably the greatest director of all time.
In some ways, Stanley Kubrick's got something to say about that. Scorsese, Woody Allen. Let's not forget some of them. You got to calm down. But he's very, very good.
I mean, Has Woody Allen ever made a movie anywhere close to Godfather 1, 2, or Apocalypse
I mean,
Now?
Annie Hall broke the mold in comedy.
But
I mean,
take
the money and run.
It's not as good as Godfather
Husbands
1.
and Wives, Crimes and Misdemeanors. These are masterpieces.
They're not as good as any of those three
masterpieces.
movies, though.
These are masterpieces, sir. Woody Allen is a giant. But yeah, I mean, it's
not as good.
Different genre. Different genre.
Michael Corleone's arc in The Godfather is the greatest single character arc.
It's the greatest movie. I mean, you can make the argument.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
Anyway, a genius.
Right.
A monster.
And
a
Apocalypse
giant.
Now is the most perfect war movie ever made.
Yeah.
Anyways, went to go see Megalopolis. Walked out. Rarely walk out of films. Walked out at about the 45-minute mark.
Wow. It made $4 million in this weekend.
It was one of the most confusing, schadenfreude, nonsensical things I've ever laid eyes on.
Yeah. He's too old, too rich, too out of touch.
Right. And the film is about corporate greed, elitist views of the future, how out of touch they are, coming from somebody who financed the film.
He financed it, didn't he?
Self-financed after selling Coppola wines for $500 million. So what happens? What happens? How could this person have made Godfather 1, 2,
because he
and
thought he
Apocalypse
still
Now?
had it, because he had to get it out of his system, because he had to figure out a way to prove to the world that he wasn't dead yet. And that might have been worth half his wealth. Because if he sold Coppola for $500 million, which I don't know if he did, but he probably did.
He did, yeah.
After taxes and everything else, he's probably sitting on 200. I don't know. Maybe more, maybe less.
Yeah.
But to spend $140 million on a movie is so astronomically insane. Now he's probably got $100 million in the bank too. I don't know. He's probably got a lot of money. He's fine, right?
Right.
If you're fine, you're fine.
But I mean, it's kind of heartbreaking to see the.
Well, it's also like, heartbreaking, but was it outdated? Was it dated? Was the movie dated? What was wrong with it?
It was a tonal nightmare. The writing was unbelievably bad.
Really?
The writing was so bad.
Is that because you were ahead of it? It was cliche. You could see what was going on. I gotta watch it now.
There's a line in the film that Giancarlo Esposito delivers, where he says, like, you've ever cared about every man, or something like that. And there's lines like that all over the place where there are too many words.
Cliche.
It's not cliche. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's not cliche at all. There are a lot of cliché-isms in it. It's very on the nose.
Who wrote it?
I think him.
Yeah.
He's
writing about what was the synopsis of the movie? Let me see. A conflict between Cesar, a genius artist, already I'm out, who seeks to leap into a utopian, idealistic future, and his opposition mayor Franklin Cicero, who remains committed to a regressive status quo, perpetuating greed, special interests, and partisan warfare. Yeah, tell me you're an elitist without telling me you're an elitist. Jesus.
Right.
Like that's
takes place in New Rome. The characters are Cicero, Caesar. So it's very on the nose, but there's also this.
So it's a period piece?
No, it's not a period piece. It takes place in an alternate world that is similar to ours, but in the future.
So it's like Romeo and Juliet, but done in modern day.
A little bit, yeah. It had a very Baz Luhrmann quality to it.
Yeah.
It was just absolute fucking nonsense. And
this is it's like, wow. So this is when, I don't know if you guys know, this is going to come as a shock, that the New York Times and the New Yorker have now endorsed Kamala Harris. Nobody gives a fuck about the New Yorker or the New York Times. And I think the New York Times said that if you're patriotic, the patriotic choice is Kamala Harris. Like, I'm sure that's going to make a huge difference in Kamala Harris's numbers. Besides, in the tiny elite pockets of New York City who already agree with the New York Times. You know, this is the kind of thing where we have a media that's so out of touch with the average person. You have Saturday Night Live making fun of Trump and the assassination. It's like, I know SNL, but nobody's watching you either because, again, it's like Lorne Michaels and company are not, they don't have their finger on the pulse of the populace at large. In fact, they have contempt for it. They have contempt for it. It never used to be that way. They were setting trends. So anyway.
Watched the opening monologue of SNL this weekend.
Okay.
It was kind of heartbreaking how bad it was. No, this is a comedian named Chris Fleming who did just an amazing thing on the current state of SNL.
I already like him.
I heard Coke is back at SNL, and I'm like, well, let's see some results. You're doing Coke to do a slow sketch. At least Belushi used to run through a wall.
This guy's great. I love this guy.
What are you talking about? If you do Coke, you better be at Wembley Stadium. Mork and Mindy season 1 if you were on cocaine. Are you doing Coke to just be boring? Like, to just bomb at the Weekend Update desk? I swear to God, if Colin Jost is on Coke, I swear to God.
So,
Wow.
SNL is dead.
It's tough. Hard to be funny when you have these governors. When you're no longer, see, it's hard to be funny when you're already the elite status quo. When you're echoing how your friends in Brooklyn feel.
Yeah.
When you're echoing how your very elite audience that comes to your coffee house feels. When you're echoing how your elite colleges and the teachers and the student population feels.
Yeah.
You are part of groupthink. And to be a comic, and especially to be a sketch comic, you're in the business of satire, speaking truth to power, shaking everything up. You're just jumping on the bandwagon, the Trump bandwagon. Okay. But you don't really, nobody believes it. You know, that's the problem.
He goes on to say that Colin Jost exists in this bizarre superposition where every single person knows about him, and he's also the last thing we've ever thought of, which is kind of what SNL is these days. It's kind of a fixture that nobody pays attention to. It
used to be such a force. Part of it is just because everything's so atomized, but
yeah,
that Saturday Night Live could still be irreverent. But when you've got a non-binary woman, which I don't buy, talking about how being mad at legislation that stops gender-affirming care for children, which is a very fancy way of saying child mutilation, probably child sacrifice, actually, then fuck off.
Well, let's get to this then. Listen.
I saw this.
Will Ferrell's best friends are very good friends with this person. He's trying to support this person. I don't know. I don't want to be Laura Ingraham and say shut up and dribble, but it's not funny.
Well, I watched the documentary.
You did.
So if you guys don't know, Will Ferrell did a documentary. His very good friend, who was a writer on SNL for a long time, woke up at 63 years old and was like, I'm a woman. Always felt that way. Got electrolysis. I guess, I don't know if they transitioned, but certainly took estrogen and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's Will kind of like, all right, and taking him on a road trip. Will's an incredibly agreeable, kind human being, not to mention brilliant and hilarious, very competitive in a good way.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'll find anybody saying anything bad about Will Ferrell, so I'm definitely not going to say a damn thing about Will Ferrell. I think he's great. I've worked with him, and I think he's an amazing guy. He just had a friend who, this is one of those things where he was probably, and I'd be the same way, where he's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I don't really know what to say about it, but all right, this is how you feel.
Right.
I mean, it's a real thing, But you know, you're going to pay a price for it, right? As Harper. Harper's going to play a price. I think his real name, I think his dead name is Andrew or something. And Will's very respectful and, you know, okay. And then they were mad at where I kind of lost them is that they were mad at the Indiana governor, said I wouldn't have really introduced you because he voted against gender affirming care for minors. Well, I wholeheartedly support that. Yeah. I don't think gender affirming care, first of all, is a euphemism again for mutilation and child sacrifice. Right. I'm violently against it. So I agree with the Indiana governor.
Yeah.
And so they kind of lost me there, but that's Will. You know, Will is he loves his friend.
Yeah.
I don't think his friend's going to have an easy time of it. You know, his friend is, worried about the bros. Yeah, well, it is still a very strange thing for us as people. Mm-hmm. That's not what you see every day. You're an outlier.
Right. Transitioning when you're an adult is very, very different.
It's fine. If you want to do it, I'm not going to be mean to you.
Right.
I'm not going to not hang out with you. I'm not going to say anything to you that's going to make you feel bad. I mean, you want me to call you, you know, by your Harper, by your name? I will. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be, you know, but I fundamentally disagree with children transitioning.
Yeah.
And if you want to do that at 63, I guess go ahead. I mean, I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Right.
It's different.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to say it's bizarre and different. I'm also allowed to say I find it confusing. Yeah. I'm also allowed to say I don't get it.
Yeah.
All right. But it doesn't mean I wouldn't protect someone's right to do that. If somebody wanted to do violence to that person, or I'd be like, hey, come on, man.
Don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
Don't be an absolute idiot. But yeah, it's different when it's kids.
It ain't easy.
Okay, we've got some more serious.
I'm sorry to keep going on this, but like I've always wanted to be taller and more muscular. Like it's probably the center of my existence.
Yeah.
Like if you said to me, Bryan, you can take these drugs. I know I can do steroids, but you said there's a gene therapy that'll give you longer legs. You'll be 6'2". Yeah. With a full head of hair and be a lot more muscular.
Yeah.
I would say, sign me the fuck up.
Oh, can I ask you a question? And this is, I expect this to be hurtful towards me, but would you trade bodies with me? Because
no. Okay.
Okay.
All right, dude.
Because I am 6'2". I know, but very long legs.
I know, but
there's a fair amount of meat.
It's fine, you know.
But you could work this into shape pretty quick.
I would work it into shape.
Yeah.
I'd be strong.
Okay. I'm strong.
And you're probably fairly athletic. You're very tight, but you know, I would do some stuff with your body, yeah. But I would have been training all the time. I'd be an athlete. Yeah, right. You're probably athletic.
Okay. All right. So let's lighten it up a little bit. I want to get to something called Hypothetical Birdmaster.
This is good. I know birds.
You did?
I know birds very well. I've owned macaws.
Right. Okay. So you know birds.
I can wax poetic on crows. Keep going.
Of course you can.
The golden eagle, the harpy eagle, the peregrine falcon. I mean, we can go on.
Shut up for 1 second, though.
Okay.
So you have a choice to be the birdmaster, the hypothetical birdmaster of 3 different options of bird.
Yeah.
You pick one of these to be the most powerful martially that you can be. Okay? The first option is 1 cassowary. You have full command over 1 cassowary. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. The second option is you are the master of 3 California condors. Mm. Final option, you are the master of 50 quite aggressive, quite well-trained chickens.
Well, the chickens are out.
Okay.
They're out.
All right.
Okay.
They're tuned up.
The only value in having 50 chickens is that I would have them laying eggs on command.
Sure.
Very important.
Yeah.
And extending their neck for slaughter so I don't have to chase them around.
Okay, but that's unbelievably valuable.
Now, the other thing that they'd be good for is if I am attacked, I would have them charge headlong and jump at their crotch and legs and trip them up with 50 chickens is in the way.
Cannon fodder.
It's in the way.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad. Because while you're swatting at the chickens, falling over, I'm closing in with my katana.
Yeah.
I'm closing in with my crossbow.
Right.
I'm closing in with my pistol.
Right. So there's a food source.
This depends on it depends on what the scenario is.
We're in
Am I granted weaponry?
We're in the Thunderdome and you're granted weaponry. Yeah.
It's probably not then a projectile. It's got to be something like a machete, katana.
Let's go with a katana.
Yeah, this is where this comes into handy. This comes in handy, right? Chickens can be a bit of a pain if you can get them to fly up at your face, and I'm chopping. I'm fucking chopping.
Okay.
Okay? Condors attack from the sky.
The heavens.
Do me a favor. Tell me how much the average condor weighs.
The average condor, I don't believe, I'll look up what it weighs.
Because those beaks will do a number on you. So will the claws.
They have a wingspan of up to 9 feet.
That's just not as interesting. What you want is animals that can dive bomb. So we're talking 20 pounds. So you're talking 60 pounds of bird altogether. They're coming down and they're attacking the head. 18
feet of wing.
18 feet of wing is a large target. You can my opponent can strike at them, but it is a very good question because it's definitely not the cassowary. And the reason it's not the cassowary is it's one animal.
Right.
And a cassowary is 65 pounds, probably, I don't know how much it is, maybe 70, who cares, maybe 120, I don't know. Let's see how much it weighs. Let's see how much they weigh.
130.
It's a big animal. It's a big fucking animal. It's a big animal. But it's also coming at you with its claws. And if you have a sword or you got a hammer, it's easier to deal with one bird.
I know, but can I also please, and this isn't of paramount importance, but it would be, I think, a mistake to not factor this in, is the narrative merit of the companion. You with a katana and one cassowary is...
I think this question has to be... This question really has to say, what kind of weapon does my opponent have? Are we battling? Yeah, it's a tough one.
This is post-World War III. We've reverted back to the sticks and stones of Albert Einstein's nightmare, and this is what we're living in right now.
I'm the cassowary is the cassowary is a viable companion if it's my friend.
It is your friend and servant.
And when somebody tries to sneak up on me, it's there. And it's tearing your guts out. But it's still just one animal. It's still one animal. It's a dinosaur. Look at that. It runs right at you. You need a shield. It's scary. And they're untamable. They're untamable.
Not in this hypothetical, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to cause some issues, dude. It's going to cause some issues.
But there's a correct answer here.
I mean, it's probably the condors.
Yeah.
Because condors come out, they attack from behind silently. So you're having to deal with the sky. You're having to deal with the sky. And those claws in your eyes and those beaks, in that beak in your eye, and when that thing holds on to you, you can't give me 3 golden eagles, huh?
No. No, it's 50 chickens, 3 California condors, 1 cassowary. Is the hypothetical birdmaster today.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I can garner the kind of protection in a Malinois' brain and put that into the condor's brain, we're good. We're good.
I mean, you can't. I mean, look at this thing attacking a fucking coyote.
I don't think that's real. I think that's photoshopped.
Okay.
And I think it's horseshit.
Okay.
Now, eagles will do that, and you can tame them.
I think
condors are, I think more scavengers. They're not hunters.
It's a very simple answer.
Can I see the claws of a condor? Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that.
You should be.
Yeah, that's not fun to have in your fucking retina. Okay? That buried deep in your retina ain't a good time. And by the way, the other claw's got your fucking cheek, and now it's this, and you're like, and the other one's here like, and now you're Samson. You got no eyes. Yeah, you're in trouble. It's condors. It's condors all day.
Yeah.
It's the condor all day.
It's an evil thing.
He's also blinding you with his wings. You don't see anything. The sky becomes black. You don't hear them come down on you. I'm teaching them how to dive bomb. We're training all the time. I'm feeding them a high protein diet. So you're talking probably at this point, they're probably 30 pounds. What's this now?
This is footage of somebody being attacked by a condor.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, to be able to send this against foes is incomprehensibly
Yeah, death from the sky.
Powerful.
I agree. It's a drone, dude. It's a drone.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a drone with claws.
Yeah. Well, this is
hard to find a I've also got the condor as surveillance. Scouts. You know, he's also he's my scout.
Yeah.
He's also telling me where shit is.
Yeah.
So it's condors.
Okay. All right, good.
Always go with air. With the air. When you can't have a ground assault. Ground assault's fine, but we know what happens when you have the air.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so this is an older story, but I wanted to bring this in. You read the headline, please?
Jesus. MIT fed an AI data from Reddit, and now it only thinks about murder.
Okay, so they named this AI Norman after Norman Bates. And the craziest thing is the Rorschach outputs from this AI. So they have their standard AI Rorschach tests on the right.
So the standard AI sees a black and white photo of a small bird. This Norman sees a man getting pulled into a dough machine. Jesus. Okay, the AI here sees this image. So this is a Rorschach test. It's an image. It sees a black and white photo of a baseball glove. The Norman sees a man is murdered by machine gun in broad daylight. Christ. Here's another Rorschach test. A person is holding an umbrella in the air. Norman says a man is shot dead in front of his screaming wife. Holy shit. Yeah, that's all he thinks about. Yeah.
So when you feed...
There are a lot of people like my mother that see only that too. Okay? My mother sees, like, she can find death anywhere, including in what you're wearing. Okay? If you're wearing a scarf, she'll be like, be careful because it can get caught in a bus door or an escalator and it'll pull your head off. If you cut your hand and you haven't washed it, she'll say, you got to wash that because that's how you get tetanus. Tetanus. My mother's warned me about tetanus and then goes into what it can do to you. You get lockjaw. You're in terrible pain until the moment you die. Oh, it scrunches up all your muscles. That's what's going to happen now that I nicked my hand cutting tomatoes, Mom.
Yeah.
With that stainless steel knife. You got to go to tetanus.
Sounds like a Yenta, not a Sicilian.
You got no idea.
Yeah.
You know, well, you know, even adults get kidnapped, she'll say. Right. So lock your doors. Right. Really. I cooked bacon. I poured the grease in the trash. I went to put water on. She goes, be careful. It can explode like a bomb in your face. And you'll have burns that you can never reverse.
Right.
I look at her, I'm like, I'm 57. I've done this before, especially in my own house. I got it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing. So yeah, if you feed AI the things on Reddit, it will become a murderous nightmare.
If you feed your own brain the wrong things. Look, I'm going to give you guys a Buddhist technique I've been practicing. I'm being serious. You throughout the day, you're going to have anxiety, you're going to have depression, you're going to have dashed expectations, you're going to have thoughts of the future that are not positive. You're going to have a lot of things, and you're going to have things happen to you. Most of the things that happen to you are going to dash your expectations. You're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. And it's going to cause anxiety and worry. It's going to cause feelings of self-doubt and probably even contribute to low self-esteem. It's just the way life is. You go through life, it's impossible to avoid damage and disappointment, fear, all those things, and even tragedy and disaster. I want you guys to focus on what happens physiologically to your body. Don't fight it. Don't fight it. If, you ask somebody out and they say no, or you get a job, you didn't get a job, feel it. Embrace it. Don't resist it. Feel exactly what it feels like. Go into it. And interpret the physiological reaction in your body. Focus on what happens to your body. Like really, really feel everything that happens without trying to change it, without trying to resist it. Let it get into your body. Feel it. Like, this morning I had a thought that something I had worked on really hard wasn't going to work out. I got a tightness in my chest. I got this tightness, and I got these butterflies in my stomach, and I went through it. I just took it in. I was at dinner, and I was with my friend who's doing really, really well. I'm so proud of him. So proud of him. And but I realized that time for me is maybe past. I don't have some options based on some stuff that happened 4 years ago. But who cares? But I immediately got into this feeling of depression and heaviness. And what I did at dinner is I took it in, and I felt it, and I went through it. I didn't deny it. I just really accepted it. And I said, this is what's going on with me. And what a Buddhist monk will tell you, and I'm not one of those, was that will ultimately melt into something else. It'll melt into, that's just what's happening right now. That's just happening today in my body for this moment. I don't have to be a slave to it. I can feel it, and I can realize it's going to pass. It's just physiological, and I'm not going to resist it. And I know that something's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, day, week, that's going to take me out of this. There are other things to look forward to. There are other things to look at that are better, that are good right now. And if you want to get into God and the devil, that can be, it's like when Christ said, get behind me, Satan. That's the idea that the devil will try to ruin your day. Anything great can be happening, and you can find a way to fuck it up with bad thoughts. And it's constant. So what's the choice? Are you going to embrace the feeling, acknowledge it, see it? It's like inviting somebody into your house you don't want in your house. Let them in. Let them in. And then just watch them walk out the back door, because they will. Don't resist it. And once you start doing that, you start to realize nothing can touch you ultimately. Once you do that, you kind of go, yeah, that's okay. That's what's here now. It's all good. I'm just going to keep moving forward. I had a great dinner. I did that, and I had a great dinner. We had such a laugh. I went, that's what's happening right now. It's my reality.
What'd you eat?
Well, I was at my favorite Italian restaurant, Via Veneto.
Yeah.
So I ate the best crab salad. Ugh. I had the best sea urchin pasta. I had the best lamb chops. I had the best white wine from Italy and from a small island off Tuscany. Any more questions?
Elba?
No, this white wine I had was fermented in terracotta pots.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an acquired taste, but it's very special.
A lot of minerality.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But you eat that kind of food and you feel damn good.
Yeah,
and then you're laughing.
You don't really know a lot about wine.
Yeah, I'm a freak for wine. I've had the best wine on the planet.
But you don't know it, though.
I know it.
No, I remember.
Well, it's funny because I shot myself drinking. My buddy wanted to see if I could tell the difference between very cheap wine and then very good wine.
Yeah.
Not even very good wine, but like the difference between a $5 bottle of wine and a $25 bottle of wine, which of course I could immediately.
Right.
I could do it smelling it.
Yeah.
Then he said, can you tell the difference between a Pinot Noir and, you know, a Merlot or a Cabernet?
Which, how could you not,
and a Merlot. And
Just
of course I can.
Okay.
By smelling it.
Okay.
We did it on camera.
Okay, good.
But that's easy.
That's easy.
Can you tell the difference between a right bank and a left bank Bordeaux? One's more Cabernet, one's Merlot. No. Some people can.
Yeah, you can't.
No, probably not.
No, you can't.
Not necessarily, but maybe.
No, because I remember one time I got you a bottle of Morgon Beaujolais. It was probably like $50 or $60, and you referred to it as table wine.
Yes, it is, because
it's
Beaujolais.
Not though. It's not.
Beaujolais is a silly wine. It's adorable. It's adorable that you bought me it, and it's adorable you spent $60 on it, because that's ridiculous. Because Beaujolais is not a wine that's aged. Beaujolais is just stomped on, and then it's turned over very quickly.
You're a
so it's
moron.
It's a nice table wine.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you're.
But
absolutely.
You know, I'm an aristocrat.
Okay, so let's get to something that Trump said at a rally in Pennsylvania. He begins by saying,
"I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't say this. I know a lot about overtime. I hated to give overtime. I hated it. I shouldn't say this, but I'd get other people in. I wouldn't pay. This is going to lead to a lot more. I think it's going to be economically positive, but I'm not even doing it for that reason. I'm doing it because, like the tax on overtime, it's something so good. So good."
Okay. So we've had a couple of isms come out of Trump lately, kind of waxing in agreement with Elon on union busting. We're talking about not liking overtime. And listen, I have no problem if you want to vote for Donald Trump, despite his rhetorical failings and ideological failings. But the populist narrative must stop, right? We cannot continue to call the man in gold a populist, right? So you'll put an end to that right now, right? You'll stop that right now?
Well, I think he speaks to people that feel like they're not represented by the Kamala regime,
the
Biden regime.
Yeah, people who afford Christmas presents with overtime.
Yeah.
Those people.
Yeah, you want overtime. And being taxed or not taxed on overtime is a different thing.
Okay. So
I don't even know what
he said.
Harris stands for.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's going to be very interesting to see who wins this election. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, listen, Donald Trump is it's a populist Trojan horse for corporatism. And Kamala is the same exact thing.
I don't know.
Well, you should.
Trump wants to get rid of regulations. Probably is for tax cuts. So it's probably better for the economy.
Well, how have we allowed the Lutzian pollution of words to take such a grip on this country? I don't understand.
It's always been that way. Whoever controls the narrative, it wins the day. Usually.
Regulations. Do you think banks should be more regulated?
Yeah, they have to be regulated. I think my problem with banks is that they privatize their gains and socialize their losses. That's an issue.
Okay.
Too big to fail is a real thing.
Yes, it is. Okay, so we've got a study that was actually on CNN, crazy enough, about the politicization of children.
Yeah.
We're talking about Kamala Harris. In part, that could be because they don't know that much about her.
Landrum was also curious about how kids saw their peers in the political divide.
So, do you think that the kids that live in those two houses would be friends with each other?
They can. There's no law breaking that.
It doesn't matter if you are different by skin color, or it doesn't matter if you are different by people. You can still be friends.
Sweethearts.
The study found that Republican-leaning kids were more open to visiting a Democrat-supporting household. Democrat-leaning kids were about 5 times more likely to say they would not want to go to a pro-Trump house.
There you go.
Would they be okay with you going over to somebody's house who is really supportive of President Trump?
No.
No? And why not?
Because they know that he's not like black people, so they will not be happy to see me.
Would your
See the
family
damage
let you
that
go
the
over
left
to
makes?
somebody's house who's really supportive of Donald Trump?
No.
No, they wouldn't.
No.
And why not?
Because, like, my mom and dad don't like Donald Trump at all. Not a single bit.
Would you be okay going over to somebody's house whose family really likes Kamala Harris?
I think it'd be fine. It's just about the personality of the people.
Would your family be okay if you went over to somebody's house who really liked Donald Trump?
If I want to be real over here, so if I just went over there, I imagine be a good old argument or a fight. Maybe like a food fight or something.
You like me?
Well, that's, I love that. I love that. And that gives you an example of how the Democrats and the left don't believe in dialogue. They don't believe in conversation. They believe in conflict and destruction in a lot of ways, in a lot of cases. That's been the thing, that there's no point in even talking about Donald Trump or what Donald Trump might be offering people who feel disenfranchised, people that feel like they're not represented by their government. And I think that you could say both sides are being duped, but at least Republicans and people on the right are willing to talk these things out and debate them in a spirited way. Yeah, you can even shout them. But what you hear a lot from the left on college campuses is walk away, don't even talk to them, don't even look at them, you know. And it's funny how the left seems to flirt with violence. They're flirting with political violence. And I wonder what these academics, I wonder what these college academics and all these kids who are talking about violence and overthrowing, you know, the American quote unquote regime and way of life. Do you really think that conservatives are going to let you do that? And you think you could beat conservatives in a fight? You know what's going to happen to you if you are stupid enough to start talking about civil war? Do you know what's going to happen to you if you are a left-leaning person who doesn't even own a gun, you fucking dummies? So it's really irresponsible, and it's a terrible thing to talk about. And the problem with a civil war, for anybody who thinks there's a romantic idea there, is that the worst of the worst in society, the people that are willing to do the worst things you can imagine, are the ones that take over on both sides. And it no longer is about your side or their side. It becomes about who has the biggest guns and who's willing to kill the most people in the worst way. That's what it becomes. So this idea that you want to tear the United States, the greatest country that ever existed, the longest standing democracy, and this republic that puts individual liberty at the forefront of everything, the fact that you want to tear it apart, you better be careful what you fucking reap, because you can't handle it. That's what I have to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right.
Gotta go buy more guns.
Well, speaking of kids, let's watch this really quickly.
Today, 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall. Adderall was created by Nazi Germany. Merck developed the precursor to Adderall in order to give the German soldiers, so they got 1 pill a day. It was discontinued by the end of the war because there was such psychosis among the German soldiers taking this every day. It was to make them more aggressive. They actually reformulated it, Merck, and made a stronger version, and that is Adderall, which is now given to 15% of children. You know, many parents watching, just as Ozempic's being pushed on their kids, just as SSRI is being pushed on their kids, just as SANs are being pushed on their kids, parents being cudgeled with medical studies saying they're putting their kid at risk for not following this medical guidance. So if their kid is a little bit distracted, sitting in a sedentary environment with limited sunlight, being force-fed ultra-processed food, they're getting a little fidgety and they're prescribed Adderall right away. That's the standard of care. Think about any animal you put in a cage, low sunlight, sedentary, force-feeding ultra-processed food. We're really committing mass child abuse in many ways, and we're normalizing that.
I agree. I would say he's full of shit, but he's not. I travel too much in this country, and I can't believe how people eat, the kind of shit they eat and how they look. And by the time they're 40, they're so fat that they're limping,
right?
That they've got diabetes and hypertension. And then on top of that, a doctor goes, here's some Adderall. That's great. Amphetamine salts. Nice. And yeah, you're right. Now, sometimes it's Adderall. A lot of times it's Ritalin, though. A lot of times it's a derivative of Adderall, so it's not actual Adderall. So he might be a little off on that. It's a much lower dosage, and it does work in some cases for kids. It just does. But yeah, there's a price. There's a price. Good food, exercise, sunlight, yes. But there's too much of an industry. And Americans, it's not even a conspiracy. Americans aren't going to eat that way. They just don't want to. They'd rather have their shit food. Go to Disneyland, you know?
Yeah. I wanted to, it's really, Disneyland is hell on earth. It's just,
everybody's got an orange tongue from the Slurpees.
It is absolute hell on earth. But there was a video going around of overweight tourists. They have an account where they go to different theme parks and stuff. And there's something called the Disney rash, which is it affects the meat surrounding the ankles, of which there's not supposed to be any meat there.
Yeah. When you have fat ankles and wrists, that's the last part of your body that your body's like, hey, dude, we have no more room. I got to move this fat over here.
Right. If fat is moving to your foot bones, you
got some problems.
Really fat.
If I can't see your foot bones, we should have a talk.
But yeah, so there's this thing called the Disney rash where obese tourists suffer this when they are walking too much. And yeah, I mean, America has a serious food problem. It is not a conspiracy that there are a conflux of industries that are doing this purposefully to the American people.
I don't know about purposely. It's just a lot of money, and people are willing to stand in line for a tiny thrill.
No, it's purposefully.
What's purposely? Purposely? The food, you mean?
Yes.
I think somebody saw that there was a lot of money in Doritos, and you can formulate them to get people to eat a lot of them because it tricks your digestion to thinking you're still hungry. Yeah. Junk food is the food industry.
Do you not think
is Kraft and Nestle and all that.
Do you
they
not
feed
think
a lot
there's
of people,
a world
in
which the food conglomerates are approached by pharmaceuticals? Do you think there's any country club conversations about any concerted effort there?
I don't think it's like keep people sick so we can keep selling them drugs. I don't think it's that simple. I don't. I think that there are diabetes medications that companies make a huge amount of money on, and they know that if Americans just changed their fucking diet,
right,
that wouldn't be the case. But then you have Ozempic that comes along and says, we're making a fortune with these because people want to be skinny. Yeah. So the food companies are not making as much money, maybe.
Right.
So I don't think there's any of that. I think everybody wants to make money. And people are going to make money off of human beings who can't say no, who have cravings.
Yeah.
And then you figure out a way to hijack their brainstem with social media and the infinite scroll, with things like the Dorito effect that my buddy Mark Schatzker wrote a book about. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. They did a study. I saw someone recently did a study of 50 million different foods and looked at the caloric nuclear weapon that each of the foods were.
Yeah.
Their net negatives. Skittles were at the top of the list as the
I've
worst thing that you can consume.
Yeah.
The single worst food you can consume as
Why?
a human being is Skittles. The sugar is nuclearly efficient. The dyes are banned in a lot of other countries, but Doritos are also up there. And
Yeah.
it's the dyes. Usually.
I never ate any of this shit. I never ate any of it.
Yeah.
Never.
But you say when you travel around America, you really, really do see it. I mean, you were just in Indiana, you know.
Indiana's astonishing. All due respect, it's astonishing. I mean, the amount of obesity is it's heartbreaking. Good people there too. But fuck.
All right. Couple comments.
I don't know if Bryan could. Okay, so this is from Jopo7996. I don't know if Bryan could beat an adult chimpanzee in a fight but you keep it busy.
Now, can you be honest? Would you keep it busy?
No. Okay. No. I couldn't do a thing against, well, it's got 4 hands and a bite force equivalent to a polar bear's. So I would lose I'd lose just chunks of things would start coming off. And then he'd probably pull my arms off. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so human bones will break around 100 PSI. And they can bite at 1,300 PSI. So what do you think is going to happen to my fingers?
13 times the strength needed to break a bone.
Yeah. My torso, my ribs. Yeah. He's coming for my collarbone. It's a bad way to die.
Yeah. Well,
or get maimed.
You
don't get killed, they just maim you.
This is so dumb. 6'7", 250-pound man versus multiple 120.
I'll put 125-pound chimpanzee, a male, against that guy. He's not doing a fucking thing. Not a thing. Go ahead and punch, do whatever you want. You ain't doing shit.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
You can muzzle it and maybe do something. Still not going to hold it down. This is from what?
Patriots of Wash.
Patriots of Wash. The best podcast ever made right here, Bryan, with no interruptions. It does not get any better. Thanks, Bri. I call him Bri, and you can always call me Bri. Thanks, buddy. I'll keep it going. I love doing it. We're going to be doing, again, 2 of these. Question for Bryan.
No, that's not.
No?
You know, I don't want to do this comment.
Why? Curve Bear 8022. Get back with Sam, CSC. I might do that. Dylan and I were just talking about me coming back to CSC on Thursdays. There's a very good chance I'm going to do that. Really, there is. I'm gonna come this Thursday. I'll tell you that much.
No, you're not.
Why?
We're gonna have a conversation about this.
All
okay,
right.
Just take it easy.
Okay.
All right, that's the show.
That's it?
Yes, that's it.
Calgary, I'll see you October 17, 18, 19, BryanCallen.com for tickets. God bless you guys. I love you. And we have a physicist on tomorrow, controversial physicist, who's here to tell us that all physics has been a waste of time in the past 40 years, I think. Most people have not been doing physics, string theory and all that stuff, echoing
Stephen Hawking.
Eric Weinstein, my dear friend Eric, who I have to have dinner with soon.
Got it.
God bless.